Hello and welcome to the Daily English Fluency Habit That Actually Works, a podcast created for learners who want to speak English with greater confidence, comfort, and natural control in everyday situations. This episode is designed as an easy A2 listening practice. The pace is slow and clear, allowing time to listen, understand, and repeat. There is no need to rush or aim for perfection. The focus is on steady attention and consistent practice. This episode explains a single daily habit that supports real progress in English fluency. It does not rely on complex methods or extended grammar study. It is a simple routine that can be practiced every day, even with limited time, even with hesitation, and regardless of location. Many English learners experience frustration after years of study. When speaking is required, words may not come easily. Thoughts may feel blocked, and confidence may drop. This experience is common. The underlying reason is straightforward. Many learners study English, but they do not integrate it into daily life. Fluency does not develop through memorizing rules alone. It develops through regular contact with the language. That contact does not need to be extensive. It needs to be frequent, manageable, and consistent. This episode focuses on building that form of contact. Before beginning, take a moment to settle physically. Sit comfortably and relax your shoulders. This session is not an assessment. It is practice. Practice allows room for mistakes and gradual improvement. There is no requirement to write anything down or consult reference materials. The emphasis is on listening, repeating, and becoming familiar with the sound and rhythm of English. The habit described here supports listening, speaking, and confidence together. The daily English fluency habit that works consists of regular listening combined with regular speaking, practiced in small and repeatable moments. This routine is most effective when done every day rather than occasionally. Even a short duration is sufficient. 5 minutes is often enough because it is easy to repeat consistently. Repetition is the key factor in language development. Language learning depends more on frequency than on difficulty. The brain responds better to hearing simple English many times than to encountering complex material infrequently. Daily exposure to accessible English allows patterns to form naturally. Listening becomes faster and more automatic. When spoken repetition is added, the physical aspects of speaking, such as rhythm and pronunciation, develop alongside comprehension. This mirrors how language is acquired naturally, through listening, imitation, and repeated use. This habit has 3 components. The first is listening, the second is repetition, the third is using English in everyday contexts. Each part supports the others, and together they form a complete routine. Listening is the foundation of speaking. Spoken language cannot develop without adequate listening. Learners who try to speak without sufficient listening often experience tension and uncertainty. Regular listening reduces this difficulty by making English sound familiar and predictable. Listening should feel manageable rather than demanding. A2 level material is appropriate because it provides understanding while still introducing new language. Listening does not require dedicated study time. It can take place while walking, cooking, cleaning, or resting. When English fits naturally into daily routines, fluency develops gradually. Full comprehension is not required. Partial understanding is enough. The purpose of listening is exposure, not analysis. To support this process, short listening and repetition exercises are effective. For example, hearing and repeating simple sentences helps develop rhythm and flow. English is not spoken as isolated words. It follows patterns of stress and movement. Regular repetition helps internalize these patterns and makes speech smoother over time. The second part of the habit is speaking through shadowing. Shadowing involves speaking at the same time as the audio, or immediately after it. The focus is on copying sounds and rhythm rather than translating meaning. This technique strengthens pronunciation, timing, and confidence simultaneously. Shadowing may feel unfamiliar at first. Slowness or discomfort is expected during early practice. These sensations reflect the process of learning new sound patterns and physical movements. With regular practice, even for a few minutes each day, noticeable changes in speaking ability can occur over time. Shadowing reduces the habit of mental translation. Translation slows response time and increases anxiety. By responding directly in English, the brain learns to process the language more efficiently. This supports the transition from deliberate speaking to more automatic expression. The third part of the habit is using English in daily life. Fluency improves when English moves beyond structured learning and becomes part of routine activities. This does not require extended conversations. It involves brief internal or spoken sentences related to everyday actions. Simple statements made throughout the day help train the brain to operate in English. This practice supports direct thinking in the language, which is a significant step toward fluency. When thoughts form directly in English, speaking becomes faster and more natural. Thinking in English reduces reliance on translation. Reduced translation leads to quicker responses, which in turn supports confidence. This progression happens gradually through repeated exposure and use. Questions about the time required to become fluent often arise. Progress depends primarily on consistency rather than individual characteristics such as age or location. Daily listening and speaking, even for short periods, lead to steady improvement. Early progress may feel subtle, but over time, comprehension increases, and speaking becomes less stressful. English begins to feel familiar rather than foreign. A practical daily routine can be completed in approximately 15 minutes. 5 minutes of listening to accessible English, followed by 5 minutes of shadowing and 5 minutes of speaking or thinking in English. This structure is manageable and sustainable. In daily life, this routine can be distributed across the day. Listening in the morning, brief repetition during movement, and reflection in English in the evening all contribute to continuous exposure. This approach integrates English into normal activities without creating pressure. Speaking practice benefits from a calm pace. Confidence develops through repeated use, not before it. Mistakes are part of the learning process and occur even among native speakers. Fluency relates to effective communication rather than error-free speech. Accepting pauses and moments of silence is also important. Pauses indicate thinking, not failure. Remaining calm during these moments allows speech to continue more smoothly. Comfort with silence supports clarity and control. Motivation varies from day to day. Habits remain effective regardless of motivation levels. When English practice is routine, it continues even on days with low energy or confidence. Quiet repetition or listening alone still contributes to progress. Listening to this podcast already represents participation in this habit. Comparison with others is unnecessary. Progress is individual and measured through gradual improvement. Small advances, such as increased ease with familiar sentences, indicate success. Consistent practice builds fluency over time. Regular listening, speaking, and daily use gradually integrate English into thought and expression. This process relies on repetition rather than intensity. Fluency does not appear in a single moment. It results from repeated small actions carried out over time. 5 minutes practiced consistently leads to lasting change. And this is where the habit quietly becomes powerful. Because now English is no longer something you study, it becomes something you live inside every single day, something that moves with you while you walk, while you cook, while you sit in traffic or wait for the day to start. And this daily exposure does something textbooks never could. It trains your brain to think in English without panic, without translation, without fear. At first, your mind may feel slow, like it's chasing words that are already running ahead, but that is not failure. That is adaptation. That is your brain learning a new rhythm, the same way your ears once learned the rhythm of your native language without grammar rules or explanations. When you listen every day, even for just a few minutes, your ears begin to recognize patterns. Your brain starts predicting sentences before they finish, and suddenly English stops feeling foreign and starts feeling familiar, almost comfortable. This is the moment most learners never reach because they quit too early, expecting fluency to arrive like magic instead of growing silently through repetition. As the days pass, you'll notice something subtle but important. Your hesitation starts shrinking. You no longer freeze when you hear a sentence spoken at normal speed. You no longer panic when someone speaks without slowing down. And even if you don't understand every word, you understand the meaning, the emotion, the direction of the conversation. This is real fluency growth, not memorized sentences, not perfect grammar, but real-time understanding. And the more you listen daily, the more your brain begins to store ready-made phrases, expressions, and sentence structures. So when it's your turn to speak, you're not building sentences word by word. You're pulling them out naturally, the same way you do in your native language. Now comes the shadowing habit, the part that transforms listening into speaking without pressure. Shadowing is simple but powerful. You listen and you repeat softly immediately, without stopping, without correcting yourself, without worrying about mistakes. Your goal is not perfection, your goal is flow. When you shadow daily conversations, your mouth learns English the same way your ears do, through muscle memory, through repetition, through rhythm. Your pronunciation improves not because you studied phonetics, but because your mouth copied native speech again and again. Your intonation becomes natural, your pauses feel right, and slowly, without effort, your confidence grows. What makes this daily habit work is consistency, not intensity. 5 minutes every day beats 1 hour once a week. Short daily listening sessions keep English active in your brain, keeping the neural connections alive, strong, and ready. When English becomes a daily sound in your life, your brain stops treating it as a foreign task and starts treating it as normal input. This is why learners who listen daily improve faster than learners who study grammar for years. Grammar explains English, but listening installs English. Over time, you'll notice that your thinking changes. You stop translating in your head. You stop searching for words. You begin responding instinctively. Someone asks you a question in English, and the answer appears before fear does. This is the result of daily exposure, daily listening, daily shadowing. You didn't force fluency, you allowed it to grow. And this habit works for beginners because it removes pressure. You're not performing, you're not being judged, you're simply listening and repeating in your own space, at your own pace. The daily English fluency habit also builds emotional comfort with the language. Fear is the biggest enemy of speaking, not lack of vocabulary. When you listen every day, English stops feeling dangerous. It stops triggering anxiety. It becomes a familiar sound, like music playing in the background of your life. And once fear disappears, speaking becomes easier automatically. You may still make mistakes, but they no longer stop you. You speak through them, around them, past them. As your listening habit continues, your vocabulary grows naturally. You don't memorize word lists. You meet words in context, inside real conversations, connected to emotions and situations. This makes them stick. When you hear the same phrase again and again across different episodes, it becomes part of your active language. And one day, you'll use it without thinking, surprising yourself with how natural it feels. This is how real speakers learn, not through isolated words, but through repeated exposure. This daily habit also improves your sentence structure. Instead of translating from your native language, you start using English patterns automatically. You begin saying things the way English speakers say them, not the way grammar books explain them. Your sentences become smoother, more natural, more confident. And the best part is, you don't feel tired. This habit doesn't drain you because it fits into your life. You can listen while walking, resting, or relaxing. English becomes part of your routine, not a burden. Eventually, speaking stops being something you prepare for. You don't rehearse answers in advance. You don't fear conversations. You simply speak. And even when you don't know a word, you explain it using other words. This is fluency. Not perfection, not speed, but the ability to keep going. And this ability grows quietly, daily, through listening and shadowing. The beauty of this habit is that it scales with you. At first, you listen slowly, clearly, simply. Later, you move to faster conversations, different accents, real-life discussions. Your brain adapts naturally because you trained it gently, daily, patiently. You didn't rush. You didn't force results. You trusted the process, and the process works because language is not a subject, it's a skill, and skills grow through use, not explanation. So when you commit to this daily English fluency habit, you're not chasing fluency anymore, you're building it. One conversation at a time, one listening session at a time, one shadowed sentence at a time, and one day, without noticing when it happened, you'll realize that English is no longer something you're learning, it's something you're using, confidently, naturally, freely. Motivation varies from day to day. Habits remain effective regardless of motivation levels. When English practice is routine, it continues even on days with low energy or confidence. Quiet repetition or listening alone still contributes to progress. Listening to this podcast already represents participation in this habit. Comparison with others is unnecessary. Progress is individual and measured through gradual improvement. Small advances, such as increased ease with familiar sentences, indicate success. Consistent practice builds fluency over time. Regular listening, speaking, and daily use gradually integrate English into thought and expression. This process relies on repetition rather than intensity. Fluency does not appear in a single moment. It results from repeated small actions carried out over time. 5 minutes practiced consistently leads to lasting change. Thank you for listening. Continued listening, repetition, and daily use support steady progress. English becomes more accessible as it becomes part of daily life. The next episode will continue this process.